Central region? Ru Yue was moved. That's right. Wu Yu nodded. That central region is where the genuine experts aim to be. Here, a Xiantian expert is already very powerful, but they are nothing to the central region. More importantly, the central region has their own rules. Nobody from the outside can enter the central region unless they have reached the Xiantian high rank level. Of course, other than that, there is another way, which is to get a decree tablet from a power in the central region. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report chapter so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 228, Medicine Sect's Large Event Part 2. Chapter 228, Medicine Sect's Large Event Part 2. Ru Yue raised her brows but didn't say anything as she waited for Wu Yu to continue explaining. Wu Yu sighed. The medicine sect in Shang Domain is a branch sect from the central region, so the sect master possesses a decree tablet from the central region. If someone can save the young master's life, they can obtain the decree tablet and enter the central region. It was evident that what Wu Yu said really moved Ru Yue's heart. She wanted to break through to the Xiantian high rank, but still needed a lot of time. Moreover, the number of false Xiantians in the Shang domain was too few, and without strong opponents, she couldn't break through so quickly. Her only option was to enter the central region. Additionally, she wanted to meet Bai Zhe, so she must enter that land. That's right, little girl, do you see that a lot of strong alchemists are here? Shang domain is stronger than us as they have a couple of mundane stage low-rank alchemists. For example, that old man wearing the grey robe earlier, he is the same as me, a mundane stage low rank. Ru Yue's brows rose as she asked curiously, why aren't there any mundane stage mid-rank alchemists? He. Little girl, do you think it is easy to become a mundane stage mid-rank alchemist? That kind of alchemist appears only within the central region. Even Shang Domain's highest alchemist rank is only a mundane stage low rank. That's right, little girl, I forgot to ask what your current rank is and what stage you have reached. Wu Yu turned to look at Ru Yue as he asked with a smile, curious. Ru Yue looked at him and queried, what power are you referring to? Martial or alchemy? Both. Oh. Ru Yue shrugged her shoulders. For martial power, I just entered the false Xiantian realm. Alchemy has reached the Earth stage high rank. Training within the sacred spirit spring had drastically improved her power. But, at her current level, entering the sacred spirit spring again would no longer be of benefit. That her power would increase so rapidly was beyond Ru Yue's imagination. It was no longer a wonder why the Shao family had so many experts. They just needed to spend half a year in the spring to accomplish what would take a couple of years for others. If the Massacre the Heaven Battle Squad were to enter the Sacred Spirit Spring and train within it, they would be able to rapidly increase their power. Wu Yu's elderly face stiffened. It was fortunate that they weren't talking loudly. If others were to listen, they would have thought Ru Yue was lying. The false Xiantian cultivation aside, who could have reached the Earth stage high rank at such a tender age? Wu Yu took in a deep breath and felt slightly gloomy. His disciple had become so powerful already. He felt that as her teacher, he was rather useless. Perhaps Ru Yue felt what he was thinking and smiled, saying, Master, this tiny place can't hold me back. I want to head to a larger place. My current accomplishment isn't the limit of what I want to reach. I won't stop my steps until I reach the pinnacle of the world. No matter how dangerous the path in the future may be, I will cut my way through thistles and thorns to slaughter open a bloody path, and I will reach the pinnacle. But regardless of how that future turns out to be, a master for a day is a father for a lifetime. You are forever my master. She hadn't forgotten that when she'd first stepped into this different world, she was at a loss how to cultivate. If she hadn't met Wu Yu and been under his tutelage, then she wouldn't have smoothly entered her meditative state. Thus, even if she reached the peak in the future, she wouldn't forget her first master that had taught her initially. A master for a day is a father for a lifetime. Hee hee. Little girl, perhaps the greatest blessing in my life was recruiting you as my precious disciple. Wu Yu sighed, gratitude apparent on his elderly face. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report chapter so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 229, Medicine Sect's Large Event Part 3. Chapter 229, Medicine Sect's Large Event Part 3. The crowd quickly reached the medicine sect. Their living arrangements were done according to their rank. Ru Yue, as a human stage mid-rank alchemist, only got a worn-down wooden house, while the mundane grandmasters were arranged into a courtyard. Wu Yu initially wanted Ru Yue and Yi Wu Chen to stay at his place. But Ru Yue, who naturally hated being disturbed, rejected Wu Yu's kind intentions. As a mundane stage low-rank alchemist, there would definitely be many people coming to look for him. Moreover, Ru Yue wanted to use this period of time to refine an Earth Stage peak rank pill. Even though the wooden house was worn down, it was quiet and matched her thoughts. At this moment, in the Grandmaster's courtyard, as the few mundane alchemists were discussing, a long laugh was suddenly heard. A lofty and tall figure walked inside. Everyone looked at each other, but didn't stand to greet him. The head of the medicine sect Mu Tian was only an Earth Stage high-rank alchemist, so according to rank, he was still 2 ranks lower than them. Fellow Grandmasters, I trust you have been well since we last met. Mu Tian wasn't angry. He just smiled and cupped his fist toward them. I guess that the Grandmasters clearly know why I had organized this large medicine sect event. I don't know how certain you are in curing my son. The crowd stayed silent. The gray-robed elder that had mocked Wu Yu earlier frowned. Sect leader, we cannot make a judgment until we see the young sect master's condition. Mu Tian smiled gently, undisguised worry in his brows. I understand what Grandmaster Yi Qiu is saying. But, I want to tell all of the Grandmasters that, for the sake of my son, even some of the mundane alchemists from the central region have tried to diagnose his condition. It's a pity that it had led to nothing. Everyone's gazes refocused. What did mundane alchemists represent? Even the mundane alchemists couldn't help treat the young sect master's illness, could they do it? Grandmasters, please don't give up. Those mundane mid-rank and high-rank alchemists at the central region weren't able to figure out what happened to my son, so I have organized this large medicine sect event and summoned all of the alchemists here to see if anyone can diagnose my son's illness. Even if they can't manufacture the pill, as long as they manage to find some of the problems of his body, my promise will still be the same. This is due to the fact that the alchemists in the central region can help manufacture the pill once the problem of his body is found. They naturally understood Mu Tian's promise clearly. This was a great chance to enter the central region, so nobody was willing to give up. The current elder's cultivations were already at Xiantian. It was just about the level of Xiantian mid-rank, though. Also, how long they would have to wait to break through to high rank was unknown. This decree tablet was their sole chance. Sect leader, don't worry. I will definitely figure out the young sect master's illness for you. Yi Qiu was elated. When he smiled, the wrinkles on his elderly face looked like a blossoming chrysanthemum. I naturally trust in fellow Grandmaster's ability. Mu Tian smiled. I've heard that Elder Yi Qiu had taken in a genius disciple. He has reached the Earth Stage high rank at the tender age of 20? That is really something to celebrate. When Yi Qiu heard someone talking about his proud disciple, he chuckled arrogantly. His disciple could be one of the geniuses even within the central region for reaching the Earth Stage high rank at 20 years of age. 20-year-old Earth Stage high rank? Is it really that great? Wu Yu couldn't stand Yi Qiu's complacent appearance and snorted coldly. If a 20-year-old Earth Stage high-rank alchemist was a genius, what was his disciple? Mickey, do you need to ask? She is a monster, tongue sticking out. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know report chapter so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 230, Medicine Sect's Large Event Part 4. Chapter 230, Medicine Sect's Large Event Part 4. Grandmaster Wu Yue, are you saying the grape is so sour just because you can't eat it? Yi Qiu complacently swept a gaze at him and said with disdain, my disciple reached the Earth Stage high rank at the age of 20. If he isn't a talent, then wouldn't your disciple be lower than a trash? Ha ha. Assuming I hadn't guessed wrongly, she should be about 17. She is only a human stage mid-rank right now. If she isn't a trash, then what is she? With her talent, she wouldn't be able to reach the Earth Stage high rank before 40. I really don't know why you would take in such a trashy disciple. Can it be that she is your illegitimate child? Wu Yu's elderly face changed. He knew that even if he explained that Ru Yue had reached the Earth Stage high rank, Yi Qiu wouldn't believe him and would even think that he was lying, so Wu Yue might as well keep quiet. He would be able to prove his disciple wasn't a trash later. Human stage mid-rank? Mu Rongtian looked astonishedly at Wu Yue. This old man had high sight. Why did he recruit a trash? Could his disciple really be his illegitimate child? He. Grandmasters, I won't continue to disturb you. I will let my son meet with the Grandmasters at noon in the public square tomorrow. I hope that the Grandmasters will be able to find out the condition of my son's body. Leaving those words, Mu Rongtian no longer spoke and simply cupped his fist toward the crowd before turning to leave. His eyebrows displayed distinct anxiety. These people were his last hope. His son's status was unique. If something were to happen to him, then those people wouldn't let the medicine sect off in the future. Mu Rongtian sighed worriedly. His steps quickened, and he soon disappeared from the others and Wu Yu's sight. He needed to prepare for tomorrow. Son. If one were to say who the most mysterious person in Shang Domain was, then one would not say Madame Shang Yu who governed the Shang Domain, nor Nangong Zifeng who had made massive changes these past 2 years. The holder of the position of most mysterious in the Shang Domain was the young sect master of the medicine sect. Few had seen this young sect master, especially after he vanished from the medicine sect due to illness a few years ago. Nobody knew where he went nor saw his appearance when he did. The head of the medicine sect also gave word that the young sect master would appear in the public square tomorrow at noon in order to let all of the alchemists check his body. Thus, even though it wasn't noon yet, many people were in the public square. When the disciples of the medicine sect heard that the young sect master would appear, they dropped what they were doing just to see his face. Even though they were disciples of the medicine sect, they also hadn't seen the young sect master in the rumors yet. Ru Yue saw the people of the Qin family at a glance. Her brows were slightly raised as those people shouldn't be alchemists. How did they enter the medicine sect? Perhaps Qini felt a gaze on him, so he turned his head and met the cold gaze of Ru Yue. He saw that Ji Wuchen wasn't by her side and wanted to talk to her. But he knew that after what Ji Shui Rou had done, she wouldn't want to have anything to do with the Qin family. Thus, he could only swallow his words. She is an alchemist? Ji Shui Rou was alarmed. Her gaze landed on the crest on Ru Yue's chest. She slightly pursed her lips. Human stage mid-rank? A human stage mid-rank was nothing to others, yet to the Qin family, even if it were weak human stage mid-rank alchemists, they must still treat them with respect. This was the difference between alchemists and martial practitioners. If you find any errors, ads pop-up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know report chapter so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 231, Medicine Sect's Large Event Part 5. Chapter 231, Medicine Sect's Large Event Part 5. Everyone, welcome to the large event of the medicine sect. Mu Rongtian walked into the public square. With a striking gaze, he surveyed the crowd below him and smiled as he continued, I will call the young master out to meet with you all. Once he said that, an exceptional figure appeared before everyone's eyes. At that instant, everyone's breathing became sluggish as their sight followed his figure. They felt as if they were looking at an immortal. Why did such a beautiful man exist in this world? When he walked, his black hair fluttered toward the crowd. Everyone there could smell a refreshing fragrance. Their hearts seemed to bloom with thousands of peach blossoms. This wasn't the first time Mu Ryu saw such an immortal-like man, since Bai Zhe was similarly as beautiful as an immortal. Yet, Bai Zhe's beauty gave off a sorrowful but gentle atmosphere, while this man gave off a soothing aura. This kind of aura from within made one's beauty more breathtaking. Perhaps it was due to his illness that the man's handsome face was sickly white, but it didn't affect his stunning appearance. His appearance was without any flaw, as though it were the most outstanding masterpiece of the world's creator. But after regularly seeing Yi Wuchen's charming appearance, this didn't have much of an effect on Mu Ryu, unlike the other women that looked love-struck at this man. King Er. Mu Rongtian hastily went forth and, with a smile, continued, "You're here." Mu Rongqingchu nodded slightly before shifting his gaze toward Mu Ryu for a moment. For some reason, Mu Ryu kept feeling that his eyes held an unfathomable ray of light. "All right, let's begin." The man spoke gently. After hearing his voice, the crowd seemed to see a bamboo forest after it rained, or a small stream branching from a spring, or even the black-naped oriole in the tree. His voice was so pleasant to the ear that it was captivating, not allowing one to snap out of it. Mu Rongtian smiled as he looked at the crowd beneath. "Everyone, can you figure out the illness of the young master?" Once Mu Rongtian said that, everyone became quiet. To be honest, they could feel that Mu Rongqingchu's life force was a little weak. He could only live for about 2 to 3 years, but they didn't know what was wrong with him. Even though Mu Rongtian knew this would happen, after seeing their expressions, he still couldn't help but feel down. "I can give you half a month to think about a solution. The young master will cooperate with your demands during this period. If anyone can find a solution, my medicine sect will definitely not mistreat them." In comparison to Mu Rongtian's depression, Xingqiu didn't have any expression. He just watched calmly without a single ripple in his eyes. His handsome appearance just looked like normal. Mu Ryu looked at the man in the public square. Glimmers danced in her eyes. Since she wanted to break through to the Earth Stage Peak rank in a few days, she'd specifically flipped open the Alchemy Book. Coincidentally, it had some treatments that could be used for weird and complex illnesses. Hence, with a glance, she already knew the man's condition. There was an Earth Stage Peak rank pill that suited the treatment of his body inside the Alchemy Book. It was, however, a pity that she hadn't broken through to the Earth Stage Peak rank yet. Half a month? Mu Ryu lowered her gaze and chuckled slightly as she muttered to herself, "That time is sufficient enough." She would reach the Earth Stage Peak rank standard within this half a month. No matter if it were for Yi Wuchen or for obtaining the decree tablet to enter the central region. Teaser. Everyone, welcome to the large event of the medicine sect. Mu Rongtian walked into the public square. He surveyed the crowd below him, with an imposing gaze, and smiled as he continued, "I will call the young master out to meet with you all." Once he said that, an exceptional figure appeared before everyone's eyes. At that instant, everyone's breathing became sluggish as their sight followed that figure. It was at this moment that they felt as if they were looking at an immortal. "Hey, it is just Mickey dropping by. The one you are waiting for is behind me." Mickey chuckled elegantly. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report chapter so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 232, Earth Stage Peak Rank Alchemist Part 1. Chapter 232, Earth Stage Peak Rank Alchemist Part 1. Wu Chen, I will try to manufacture an Earth Stage Peak Rank pill. Please guard the door for me and forbid anyone from coming to disturb me. Inside the room, Mu Ruyu's expression became focused. An Earth Stage Peak rank pill was significantly more difficult to manufacture than a high rank one. She didn't know if she would be able to manufacture it. Since time was running out, and she didn't know when Wu Chen's power might erupt again, she had to try to manufacture the purple gold pill now. Yi Wuchen nodded slightly and walked out after looking at Ru Yue. Once he left, the entire room turned quiet. Ru Yue took a deep breath and focused on the phoenix furnace. The ingredients for the purple gold pill were very precious. Yi Wuchen hadn't been by her side today in order to help her seek the ingredients. But with her abilities, manufacturing the purple gold pill would still be pushing it a little. With a slight raise of her hand, Ru Yue placed the ingredients onto the table by her side. Swish! A flame rose from her palm and landed at the bottom of the phoenix furnace. Continuous stream of energy went into the furnace and wrapped around the medicinal plants within. Ru Yue looked at the medicinal plants that were slowly liquefying. She then expanded her mental power, inserting it into the furnace. With the insertion of her mental power, the medicinal plant fluids flowed quietly inside the phoenix furnace. She blew a mouthful of air before she took more medicinal plants from her side and tossed it into the phoenix furnace. Mental power was the most important element in pill refining, but coordinating it with energy was equally important. Ru Yue's mental power was indeed more than sufficient, but if her energy wasn't enough, then the refining of the pill would still fail. Generally, refining a human stage pills only used a small amount of energy and didn't have many requirements. However, refining an Earth stage peak rank pill required a lot of energy, and that energy must be from a Xiantian stage practitioner. Additionally, if one wanted to refine a mundane stage pill and be a mundane stage alchemist, one must reach the Xiantian mid-rank stage. It was due to this that Ru Yue hadn't tried refining an Earth stage peak rank pill. But this time, she couldn't help but risk it. Yi Wuchen wouldn't be able to wait any longer. Still, mental power was more important than energy to alchemists. It was difficult to increase it, and Ru Yue was probably the only one who innately possessed such tyrannical mental power. It could be said that with every breakthrough of her strength, she would be able to create the next level of pills. Ru Yue inserted all of her energy into the phoenix furnace. At this same time, her mental power seemed to cover heaven and earth. Perhaps, due to her large consumption of powers, her face paled. Perspiration flowed down her face. Why is this happening now? Outside the room, Yi Wuchen's complexion changed. His black powers seemed to grow, as though it stopped listening to his orders. He was unable to suppress it no matter how hard he tried. No! Mu Er is still inside. I must control it. Yi Wuchen clenched his fists tightly. His charming face instantly paled as the power rampaged throughout his body. A trail of blood gradually trickled from his lips. Perhaps, due to being unable to release itself, the power had become unsatisfied so quickly. Yi Wuchen's internal organs was suffering a lot of injuries. If it had been any normal time, then he would have been unable to control it and would thus release his power. But when he was close to losing control over the power, he turned his head to look at the closed door behind him. His tightly clenched fists gradually opened. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report chapter so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 233, Earth Stage Peak Rank Alchemist Part 2. Chapter 233, Earth Stage Peak Rank Alchemist Part 2. Yi Wuchen initially wanted to find a place to release his power, but at this moment, a group of people came walking over. His charming appearance changed drastically. Walking at the front was the gray-robed elder Yiqiu, who wasn't on good terms with Wu Yue. There was a rather handsome man of about 20 beside him. His brows clearly displayed arrogance. He didn't seem to put Yi Wuchen, who was guarding the door, in his eyes. A couple of male and female youths wearing the medicine sex attire followed behind them. They were frequently flattering the two. Yiqiu and the younger man were enjoying all of this, with smiles on their faces. Master, I don't believe that with my ability I still have to come and investigate a human stage mid-rank alchemist. The man smiled and chuckled mockingly. His eyes landed on the worn-down thatch roofed house, a mocking smile on his face. Fu Lin, that little girl is still the disciple of that old man Wu Yue. We should pay her a visit. Since your strength has already reached the Earth Stage high rank, you should go and tutor her a little. Yi Qiu laughed arrogantly. He had moved behind that old man Wu Yu's back in order to teach the latter's disciple a lesson. A puny human stage mid-rank wasn't worthy of the importance placed on her. Who told that old man Wu Yu to offend him many years ago? His ability was similar to that old man's, so he definitely couldn't do anything to him. As such, he planned to work on the other's disciple this time, and let the disciple know what it truly meant to be a genius. To put it nicely, this was tutelage. To put it frankly, this was a chiding for being a mere human stage mid-rank alchemist at such an age. If that wasn't poor talent, then what else could it be? Looking at his disciple beside him, Yi Qiu smiled complacently. That old man Wu Yu, if comparing disciples, was doomed to lose to him. Yi Qiu walked in front of the door and glanced at Yi Wuchen and with a slight frown said, "Get the little girl Ru Yue to come out. Just tell her that her master's acquaintance has come to meet her." Yi Wuchen held his head tightly. The rampaging power in his body made him unbearably uncomfortable, but he knew that he must bear with it for now. Yi Wuchen lifted his gaze toward this uninvited person and shouted, a sinister and cold expression on his charming face, "Get lost." "What did you say?" Yi Qiu's expression darkened. "Immediately call that little girl out. I am an acquaintance of her master, so I am her elder. What does she mean by staying in her room and not meeting me?" Yi Wuchen slightly narrowed his eyes. His gaze still cold and sinister, he shouted again, "Scram!" This time, he merely spoke one word. But from that word, Yi Qiu could feel pressure making him nearly lose his breath as he stared astonished at this ordinary-looking yet noble and charming man. "Not good, dot." Yi Wuchen clenched his fists tightly and coughed out a mouthful of blood. His charming face was as white as paper. He was currently as weak as a newborn. Normally, he wouldn't have been able to suppress this power. Yi Wuchen was a little surprised at himself for being able to do it for such a long period of time. Yet, he knew that even if he were to die, he wouldn't let this power hurt the young girl inside the house behind him. It was due to this belief that he forcefully bore with it. Since the power couldn't be released, it could only rampage inside his body. But he couldn't leave this place and could only guard this door to the death. Yi Wuchen gently closed his eyes and, with a trace of bloom flashing across his eyes, shouted, "Scram! Don't make me say this a fourth time, dot. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report chapter so we can fix it as soon as possible." Chapter 234, Earth Stage Peak Rank Alchemist Part 3. Chapter 234, Earth Stage Peak Rank Alchemist Part 3. At this moment, Yi Qiu recovered from his astonishment. He sniggered at Yi Wuchen's pale face. "I didn't expect such an expert to be protecting that trash. That little girl does indeed have a great appearance. It is no wonder you would protect her to the death. He. I admit that you are really powerful. It is a pity, however, that your current physical condition isn't good. If it were, I wouldn't be your match if we fought." Yi Wuchen's heart shuddered slightly. He knew this old man was telling the truth. If it were the norm, they would have already died under his blade. Even if I have severe injuries now, I can still deal with the both of you. My power is still sufficient. Yi Wuchen waved his hand and a purple sword appeared in it. "I won't let anyone disturb her." Inside the room, Ru Yue was focused on refining her pill and was clueless about what was happening outside. With her gaze locked onto the phoenix furnace, perspiration rolled down her pale face. Right at this moment, her mental power was used to its limit. If she wasn't careful, this pill manufacturing would fail. But there was only this single set of medicinal ingredients in her possession. She mustn't make any mistake. Suddenly, Ru Yue's body softened, and she nearly collapsed to the floor. She had used up most of her strength and had even lost the ability to stand up. She took out an energy replenishment pill, without any hesitation. The pill in her mouth was like candy. Instantly, her pale face started to recover its rosiness. The dimming flame in her hand lit up once more. If she hadn't used the energy replenishment pill to recover, then perhaps she wouldn't be able to refine an Earth Stage peak rank pill. This kind of pill really required a massive amount of energy. Ru Yue pressed her lips together firmly, as she stared fixedly at the phoenix furnace before her. Sun. Under the light of the rising of the sun, the man's purple robe fluttered, even without wind. Blood flowed from his seductive lips. He wiped it away and then raised his head to look once more at the elder, who was in a sorry state. Of course, this old man didn't have the power to hurt him this bad. The extent of this damage was completely due to the power still rampaging in his body. Brat, this is the medicine sect. You shouldn't be so unbridled. Yi Qiu's expression darkened. He looked at the medicine sect disciples at the side and signaled them to quickly call the head of the medicine sect over. This man was too powerful. Even though he had a severe injury, Yi Qiu still wasn't his match. Black flames gradually expanded from the man's feet. Within that cold and sinister aura was another aura that could destroy heaven and earth. This power still couldn't be suppressed for long, as he was already reaching his limit. Moreover, it was too late to leave now. Scram! Yu Wuchen roared in anger when he saw that Yi Qiu still wanted to draw nearer. From his body, the tyrannical power burst forth and directly tossed Yi Qiu backwards. At the side, Fu Lin was stupefied. His master, a Xiantian mid-rank martial practitioner, was unable to defeat this young man? Yi Wuchen's eyes were filled with killing intent as he shot his gaze toward Yi Qiu. He walked over to him, with light steps, and said, "If you hadn't come to disturb her, then perhaps you could have kept your life. It is a pity that you threw that away." After eliminating the threat this old fellow brought, he would cripple his own powers. He had wanted to possess a tyrannical power to protect her. If this power was destined to harm her, then what was the point in keeping it? Teaser. At this moment, Yi Qiu came back to his senses after his astonishment. He sniggered at Yi Wuchen's pale face. "I didn't expect such an expert would be protecting that trash. That little girl indeed has a great appearance. It is no wonder you would protect her to the death. He. I admit that you are really powerful. It is a pity, however, that your current physical condition isn't good. If not, I wouldn't be your match if we fought." Yi Wuchen's heart shuddered slightly. He knew this old man was telling the truth. If it were the norm, they would have already died under his blade. Mickey, ads like lettuce, tongue sticking out. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report chapter so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 235, Earth Stage Peak Rank Alchemist Part 4. Chapter 235, Earth Stage Peak Rank Alchemist Part 4. What are you doing? Suddenly, a bellow was heard from the front. The sect leader of the medicine sect led a group of people and headed here hastily. Wu Yu looked at Yi Wuchen, who seemed to be in dire straits. He instantly exclaimed in surprise and paled. Swish! He moved in a flash toward him and placed his hand gently on his pulse. Your internal injury seems severe. Is it the damnable old man's fault? This man belonged to his precious disciple, so as her master, how could he allow his disciple's person to get hurt? Not good. Seeing the man's killing intent, Mu Rongtian's expression changed drastically. Elder Yi Qiu, leave quickly. But, before Yi Qiu could climb up to his feet, a purple sword light whizzed through the sky. Hong! That sword light sent his body flying violently away. The enormous boulder behind him smashed into smithereens. At this moment, the crowd saw the man who made such a big commotion. He was on his knees, with his sword piercing the ground and his sweat-soaked hair sticking to his charming face. Black power slowly expanded outward with him at the center. Wu Yu hastily retreated a few steps away as he looked astonished at Yi Wuchen. What the hell is going on? Yi Wuchen raised his head to look at Wu Yu and spoke emphatically, "Don't let anyone disturb Mu Er." If she was just manufacturing an Earth Stage high-rank pill, then with her proficiency there wouldn't be a problem. But Ru Yue was trying to manufacture an Earth Stage peak rank pill. With her mental power that taught, she should not be disturbed in the slightest. Otherwise, she might suffer severe side effects to her mind. He had done what he did, even as he was enduring the pain of that rampaging power, for the sake of preventing anyone from entering to disturb Ru Yue. Wu Yu was startled. Just as he wanted to say something, the next moment left him stupefied once more. This man wanted to cripple his own Dantian, but with his power, he could be a self-proclaimed monarch within the Shang domain. Why did he want to destroy his power? Naturally, Wu Yu didn't know that compared to Ru Yue, this power was nothing in Yi Wuchen's heart. His power was unable to protect her and could even harm her, so it didn't matter if he lost all of it. He also believed that even if he became a trash, that woman wouldn't leave him. In that case, this would suffice. Yi Wuchen gradually moved his hand toward his Dantian. With gentleness in his purple eyes, he slowly raised his hand and gathered some power. If this power were to hit it, his Dantian would shatter into pieces. From then on, the power wouldn't bother him, and he would become a trash. "Yi Wuchen, what are you doing?" Suddenly, an angry shout was heard from behind him. The man's body stiffened and his large hands stayed back from his Dantian. He turned his head toward the house and saw a white-clothed young girl running hastily toward him in fury. "Mu Er, don't come over. I can't control this power anymore. You will get hurt if you get closer." Yi Wuchen shouted anxiously. At that moment, a purple ray of light flashed through the air, heading toward him. A young girl's voice was heard after that, "I've already manufactured the purple gold pill. Consume it now." Purple gold pill? Yi Wuchen was stunned as he grabbed the pill that came flying toward him. When he held the purple pill, an ice-cold feeling passed from his palm to his body. After he placed the pill in his mouth, the chilling feeling seeped into his heart. As if summoned by something, the expanding black power withdrew into his body. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report chapter so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 236, Earth Stage Peak Rank Alchemist Part 5. Chapter 236, Earth Stage Peak Rank Alchemist Part 5. At this moment, Yi Wuchen finally felt the peace he hadn't had for a long time. When he used his inner sight to check his body's condition, he saw that a purple light was surrounding the black power. That light was gradually healing his originally damaged internal organs. That tyrannical power finally wouldn't erupt again. Yi Wuchen still hadn't come back to his sense when a figure jumped toward him and pressed him firmly to the ground. She was fuming as she scolded earth-shatteringly, "Yi Wuchen, you actually wanted to cripple your power? Didn't I tell you to trust me? I definitely wouldn't have let that power erupt again, no matter what." If she had been even the slightest bit late, the outcome would have been unimaginable. Yi Wuchen felt a little wronged. His pitiful expression with that charming smile was really moving. His ordinary appearance was very nice to look at as well. "If I didn't do that and had hurt you, I would regret it for my entire life." Ru Yue's heart shuddered violently. She knew that if Yi Wuchen had released that power, he wouldn't have gotten hurt. Moreover, with Wuchen's personality, he naturally wouldn't bother to consider the safety of the medicine sect. To him, the death of others was incomparable to crippling his power himself. He did that solely for her. In this world that respected experts, losing one's power was worse than losing one's life. Yet, this man was willing to cripple his tyrannical power in order to prevent himself from harming her. "Wuchen, you are such a fool. A fool no one could separate her from. Mu Er, if I were to become a trash, would you abandon me for others?" Yi Wuchen smiled charmingly, his gaze focused on the young girl's exceptional face. He didn't mind in the slightest how intimate their position was. Ru Yue was still pressing down on his body as she focused on her man beneath her. Her gaze was determined and certain. Don't even mention losing your powers. Even if your hands were crippled, legs were handicapped, or even if your lower part lost its function, you were still my, Ru Yue's soul man. Yi Wuchen smiled as this was already sufficient. The couple looked at each other with deep love. It was as though they didn't notice the crowd at the side. Mu Rongtian's expression darkened slightly. This man had He Jiqiu in front of him. He was very unruly, but he understood that with this man's power, no one here could be his match. No matter how displeased he was, Mu Rongtian could only bear with it. Wu Yu gradually sighed. When this man wanted to cripple his power, it really gave him a scare. It was great that it ended well. But what was beyond his imagination was that this man was Ghost King Yi Wuchen, his disciple's fiancé. Not only was this man powerful, he was also deeply in love. He was really compatible with Wu Yu's precious disciple. At this moment, a voice filled with curiosity was heard from the side. There's actually an Earth-stage peak rank alchemist I didn't know of, here. But the lingering scent from the pill is really alluring. Little girl, were you the one that refined an Earth-stage peak rank pill just now? Suddenly, an elder appeared above the crowd, slovenly in dress and manner with unkempt beard. He was currently smiling, eyes narrowed, at Ru Yue. When Mu Rongtian saw the elder, he was stunned as he asked in surprise, "Master, why have you come?" Master. The crowd was stunned. Could this be the medicine sect's old head, the legendary Senior Dan? If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report chapter so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 237, I Can Treat His Illness Part 1. Chapter 237, I Can Treat His Illness Part 1. I heard the commotion, so I came here to have a look. The elder smiled gently, looking at Ru Yue on the ground as he asked curiously, "Little girl, can you tell me the name of the pill you just refined?" Ru Yue looked at the elder with an unkempt beard and slovenly appearance. Purple gold pill. Purple gold pill? Senior Dan's eyes lit up. He had never heard of such a pill before and was naturally interested. Little girl, are you an Earth-stage peak rank alchemist? There wasn't just one Earth-stage peak rank alchemist on this continent, but one of only about 17 years of age? Could that be ordinary? Everyone gasped, focusing their gaze on this young girl. Under the gaze of the crowd, she nodded slightly. Hua! At this instant, the crowd became shocked and had gazes of disbelief trained on her young appearance. Earth-stage peak rank alchemist. She's actually an Earth-stage peak rank alchemist. How laughable that they'd thought she was only a human-stage mid-rank alchemist. Then, all of their gazes shifted to Wu Yue. They could already guess that this old man intentionally made Ru Yue play the pig to eat the tiger. With his childish behavior, he could really do that. Wu Yue chuckled a couple of times as he casually accepted everyone's gaze. Didn't they look down on his disciple? Now what? Weren't they stupefied? It was good to teach these few elders that not everyone liked to show off their power like an idiot, thinking they were so powerful. Little girl, didn't you tell me you were Earth stage high rank? How did you become a peak rank in the blink of an eye? You really make me ashamed as your master. Perhaps before long, you would exceed me. Wu Yu felt slightly dejected but also felt more proud. Who made fate have this little girl be his precious disciple? At this time, Senior Dan was tremendously excited after Ru Yue's affirmative answer to his question. With brightly lit eyes, he looked at her and asked, "Little fella, are you interested in being my disciple?" An Earth stage peak rank expert, TSK. TSK. This little fella was really great. There were only a few who could exceed her record inside the central region. Senior Dan, do you know about something called first come first serve? Little girl Ru Yue is my disciple. You're stealing my disciple right in front of me. Can your face be any thicker? When Ru Yue heard this old man ask Ru Yue to become his disciple, he instantly erupted in fury. Currently, he didn't care even if this was Senior Dan. Anyone who wanted to snatch his precious disciple were dreaming with their eyes open. Senior Dan didn't look at Ru Yue and just raised his brows, staring at Ru Yue. Ru Yue raised her head to look at Senior Dan and pondered whether to tell him of her connection with Madame Shengyu. After a long pause, she said calmly, "My surname is Xiao. Xiao Ru Yue is my other name." In the Xiao family's record, it really was her name, but her name was also Mu Ru Yue in Huaxia, so outside the family, she was used to using this name. Xiao. Senior Dan's expression slightly stiffened. You are from the Xiao family? Ru Yue nodded gently. That's right, I'm from the main branch of the Xiao family. The main branch of the Xiao family only had a connection with Xiao Tianyu and Madame Shengyu. You are little girl Yuer's daughter? No wonder you looked a little familiar. It seems you really can't be my disciple. Senior Dan felt excited. He didn't expect Yuer's daughter to come to the medicine sect. Could it be that Yuer made her come here? Was Yuer no longer angry at him after all these years? Teaser. I heard the commotion, so I came here to have a look. The elder smiled gently, looking at Ru Yue on the ground as he asked curiously, Little girl, can you tell me the name of the pill you just refined? Ru Yue looked at the elder with an unkempt beard and was slovenly in dress and manner. Anti-Mickey pill. Anti-Mickey pill? Senior Dan's eyes lit up. He had never heard of such a pill before and was interested. Mickey shuddered in fright as she looked at Ru Yue and said, trembling, Ru Yue, must you eliminate me? I only tried to kiss Wu Chen and also impersonated you to kill Wu Chen so that he will hate you. I will then be able to enter the free spot in his heart after. That's all I did, I swear, please don't kill me. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report chapter so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 238, I Can Treat His Illness Part 2. Chapter 238, I Can Treat His Illness Part 2. The crowd couldn't understand what happened as they swept their gazes at Senior Dan and Ru Yue. Could it be that the Xiao family had offended this Senior Dan, resulting in him treating this girl so badly? Only Mu Rongtian understood what Senior Dan meant. It would have been a joke. Since junior apprentice sister Yuer was Senior Dan's disciple, he was Ru Yue's senior by 2 generations. How could he take her in as his disciple? With this seniority, Ru Yue was equivalent to his granddaughter. How could a mother and daughter be under the same master? Moreover, Mu Rongtian knew how biased Senior Dan was to his junior apprentice sister. If his junior apprentice sister was willing, then she would have become the head of the medicine sect. How, then, would he have had a turn? Although Senior Dan had seemingly been angry at junior apprentice sister for abandoning the medicine sect, these past few years, he had often caught the old man zoning out, looking at his junior apprentice sister's old room. This little girl was junior apprentice sister's daughter and even had such talent. How could Senior Dan not look after her? That's right, Rong Er, what happened here? Senior Dan shifted his gaze to Mu Rongtian. Mu Rongtian's heart throbbed. He knew that what was going to come had come. Master, I'm actually not too sure. When I arrived, I saw Niece Yuer's person fighting with Yi Qiu. I will need them to tell me what happened. Since he was the elder apprentice brother of junior apprentice sister Yuer, he should call her daughter, niece. But it had still given him a shock that junior apprentice sister would have such a talented daughter, because Xiao Tianyu and junior apprentice sister Yuer didn't have any talent in alchemy. Yet, their daughter was so shocking with that monstrous talent. Seeing Senior Dan shoot a gaze over, one of the medicine sect's disciple didn't try to continue hiding what happened and told him everything. The matter started out like this. Grandmaster Yi Qiu and his disciple Fu Lin came here to look for Lady Ru Yue. He said that he came here on behalf of Grandmaster Wu Yu, to have Fu Lin teach her. This man didn't allow Grandmaster Yi Qiu to enter the room. Grandmaster Yi Qiu proclaimed himself Lady Ru Yue's elder and said she should come out to greet him, thus, they started to fight. He wanted Fu Lin to teach Mu Ru Yue? Fu Lin was just an Earth Stage high-rank alchemist. How could he teach an Earth Stage peak rank? Had the world become a fantasy, or had someone started to go mad? This was like an alchemist child saying, "Hey, let me teach you a lesson," to an alchemist master. Elder? How can that bastard be an elder? Wu Yu was angry as he glared daggers at half-dead Yi Qiu. If I hadn't guessed wrongly, my disciple was facing a breakthrough in alchemy. When an alchemist is refining regular pills, there isn't usually a need to worry about people disturbing them. But if it is a breakthrough in rank, then they indeed mustn't be disturbed in the slightest. Otherwise, their mental power wouldn't be able to withstand the interruption. If it wasn't for that brat Yi Wuchen trying to block him, then my disciple would have become a cripple. What sort of motive did he have for trying to disturb my disciple? How can a puny Earth Stage high rank have the ability to tutor my disciple? Yi Qiu was wearing gold-plated soft armor which had blocked a portion of the power from the last attack. At the moment, even though he was only half alive, he hadn't died yet and was already slowly regaining his consciousness. When he heard the conversation around him, he really wanted to lose consciousness again. That little girl was an Earth Stage peak rank? How was Wu Yu lucky enough to recruit such an outstanding disciple? It was such a joke that he'd actually treated her like a trash. If you find any errors, ads pop-up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report chapter so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 239, I Can Treat His Illness Part 3. Chapter 239, I Can Treat His Illness Part 3. You haven't died? When Yi Wuchen felt Yi Qiu's aura, his charming face turned toward him. He narrowed his eyes slightly. Gold-plated soft armor? You had such a thing on you, huh? But Ben Wang wants it now. He smiled sinisterly and under the gaze of the crowd, walked toward Yi Qiu. Yi Qiu exclaimed, "What do you want?" Sect leader, Senior Dan, please save me, quickly. Since he just regained his consciousness, his complexion was still pale white. Senior Dan didn't make any moves. After hearing the report from that medicine sect disciple, he really wanted to just kill this damnable bastard with a strike of his palm. How could his disciple's daughter be touched by this old man? Sect master, I know a way to treat the young master. If you save me, I'll treat the young master. Yi Qiu was apprehensive and shouting loudly. He didn't care what happened now. He just wanted to escape this ordeal first. Mu Rongtian was elated, but when he looked at Yi Wuchen, he hesitated. With his own ability, he couldn't fight against this man, not unless he were stopped by Master. When he raised his head to look at Senior Dan standing in mid-air, he knew he didn't have the slightest intention of helping. This could be counted as Yi Qiu's misfortune. Of all the possible people, why did he choose to harm junior apprentice Sister Yue's daughter? With Senior Dan's overprotectiveness of junior apprentice Sister Yue, he was probably currently holding back his impulse to kill that damnable Yi Qiu. In the past, his master had suppressed all objections in order to have his junior apprentice sister be appointed as the head of the medicine sect. This already proved how unreasonable this old man was. Yi Wuchen looked at Yi Qiu. Yi Qiu spurted out a mouthful of blood and had a pale white face, as he looked at the man before him in an astonishment. This man was obviously much stronger. Then, even while under the gaze of the crowd, Yi Wuchen acted extremely brazenly. He used a flame to burn Yi Qiu's outer clothes to ashes and forcefully snatched the gold-plated soft armor from the latter's body. Perhaps he found the armor dirty, so he used a flame to burn off all the dirt on it. Robber! Everyone stared at the man, shocked. This guy wasn't any different from a robber. Mu Er, Yu Wuchen turned around and returned to Mu Ruyu's side. He smiled charmingly and said, I hadn't given you anything yet. I'm just using this gold-plated soft armor to win your favor, a kind of love token from me. Don't worry. I've already erased that person's aura from it, so this gold-plated soft armor is very clean. After you wear it, even if they are a Xiantian low-rank martial practitioner, they wouldn't be able to hurt you. As for Yi Qiu, he didn't make any further moves as Wu Yu wouldn't let him off anyway. Mu Ruyue took the gold-plated soft armor unceremoniously. Wu Chen, you say that, but it seems like I also haven't given you anything yet. Yi Wu Chen chuckled charmingly. His purple eyes landed on the young girl's body. At this moment, his had a gentle expression, reserved only for her. Mu Er, you can give me the best gift in the world. What? Mu Ruyue was stunned and had not yet come back to her senses because of what he said. Yi Wuchen didn't care that he was in public and smiled lightly. After you marry me, wouldn't giving me a son be the best gift? Then in the future, our son and I can protect you. Yet, it will be better if you have a pair of boy and girl twins. In that case, my son and I will carry out the mission of protecting you two, mother and daughter. Mu Ruyue was moved. If it wasn't for Yi Wuchen disappearing for a period of time, perhaps they would have already been married. Teaser. You hadn't died? When Yi Wuchen felt Yi Qiu's aura, his charming face turned toward him. He narrowed his eyes slightly. Gold-plated soft armor? You had such a thing on you, huh? But Ben Wang wants it now. He smiled sinisterly and, under the gaze of the crowd, walked toward Yi Qiu. Yi Qiu exclaimed, What do you want? Sect leader, Senior Dan, please quickly save me. Since he just regained his consciousness, his complexion was still pale white. Yi Wuchen sniggered as he walked up to him and said seductively, You do know that I'm bisexual, right? What do you think I am going to do? Don't worry. I will be gentle. Nikki was stunned as she looked at Yi Wuchen and shouted, Kia, when did you become bisexual? Yi Wuchen rolled his eyes at Mickey and replied snappily, You were the one that told me to act as a bisexual once as a dare for our truth or dare session. Mickey twiddled her fingers and said sheepishly, Right. So he fades into the background. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc. Please let us know. Report chapter so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 240, I Can Treat His Illness Part 4. Chapter 240, I Can Treat His Illness Part 4. Not long after she came to this continent, she became betrothed to this man. Yet, so many things had happened, and so they hadn't wedded yet. When the crowd looked at this couple with such deep feelings for each other, they couldn't help but sigh. This man was an undeniably good husband material, but his sole defect of being insufficiently attractive that made them look incompatible when she stood beside him. Under the lamentation of the crowd, the man's face suddenly changed. His previously ordinary appearance disappeared, replaced by a divinely handsome face. It made the girls present stunned for a moment as they stared dazedly at the charming and handsome man before them. This man was both handsome and elegant. He was also so strong that it was terrifying. More importantly, he was deeply devoted in love. With his handsome appearance, wasn't he just like a person depicted only in books? How could such man not attract the attention of the girls? This man's eyes, however, seemed to only see Mu Ruyue. Others were unable to find their image in his purple eyes. Sect leader. Yi Qiu turned his head and looked at Mu Rongtian. He clenched his teeth. I really know how to treat the young master's illness. Your son's life can be saved with but a single word from you, but... Mu Rongtian frowned and asked calmly, What illness did Grandmaster Yi Qiu see in my son? This. Yi Qiu was stunned. To be honest, he didn't know what was wrong with Qing Chu. He only said that in order to delay time, as he knew that man wouldn't let him go. Once he averted this ordeal and took the opportunity to leave, what could they do to him outside? Sect leader, the young master has a type of intestinal parasite in his body that eats at his life force, thus resulting in his current condition. I just need to refine a pill to eliminate that parasite. It will take some time, however. Since these people didn't really know the young sect master's condition, he should be able to trick them a little. Intestinal parasites could only be found in blood ground. Even Wu Yu shouldn't have seen it before. Mu Rongtian looked at Yi Qiu, perhaps he truly was Qing Chu's final hope. Just as he was about to beseech Senior Dan for help, his words were sealed in his mouth as a cold voice was heard. Intestinal parasite? Ru Yue chuckled lowly. When a person has an intestinal parasite in his body, the entire body would be cold and 3 hidden red lines will appear behind his ear. The intestinal parasite will then become active every full moon, and the person will be in intense pain. The intestinal parasite usually stays quietly near the dantian, so there would be a protrusion in that area. The protrusion would be where the parasite lives. More importantly, the way to eliminate the parasite is really simple. You just have to use parasite grass. You don't need to manufacture a pill. Sect leader, did what I just said match the young master's condition? Yi Qiu's expression changed greatly as he shouted in anger, "What do you know?" Intestinal parasites were rarely seen, and even books didn't contain a clearly written solution for removing them. This little girl must be speaking nonsense. How could she have knowledge even Wu Yu didn't? Senior Dan should know best whether I'm lying or not. Ru Yue smiled faintly. Moreover, I also want to say that I have the ability to treat him. Now that she'd broken through to the Earth Stage peak rank, she could manage to manufacture that pill. The crowd was stunned. They looked in disbelief at Ru Yue. An Earth Stage peak rank alchemist could do something this crowd of mundane stage alchemist grandmasters couldn't? If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report chapter so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 241, I Can Treat His Illness Part 5. Chapter 241, I Can Treat His Illness Part 5. What nonsense are you saying? Yi Qiu clenched his fists tightly, his body shivering from anger. I admit your talent is outstanding, but don't think you're omnipotent. There are several alchemists here better than you. If even they couldn't do it, then how can you? Ru Yue didn't bother to look at Yi Qiu. She just shifted her gaze to Senior Dan. Senior Dan stayed silent for a while before gently nodding. I believe in the little girl. How could he not trust Yuer's daughter? Currently, Senior Dan was suppressing his excitement and ignoring the gazes of the crowd, as he shifted his gaze to Ru Yue. He chuckled and said, "Little girl, you can treat the medicine sect as your own home. If anyone bullies you and the head of the medicine sect can't do anything, you can seek me out for help." This old man's age is rather advanced and his legs aren't as agile as before, but he still has the ability to protect his disciples and their offsprings. With those words from Senior Dan, this little girl could do whatever she wanted in the medicine sect and no one would dare say anything. Yi Qiu's expression changed as he looked furiously at Ru Yue. Once this little girl fails to treat the young master, will Senior Dan still help her to such an extent? It was laughable how the current Yi Qiu thought Senior Dan treated her specially due to her words. He was clueless about how the Senior Dan's beloved disciple whom he doted on the most was her mother. After the crowd was dismissed, Wu Yu didn't leave. He walked to Ru Yue's side and chuckled, asking, "Little girl, you made such a commotion again. I just don't understand why Senior Dan didn't continue to request and recruit you as his disciple until the end." Ru Yue looked at the dismissed crowd before moving her gaze to Wu Yu's elderly face. She shrugged her shoulders. My mother is his disciple, so I should actually call him Grandmaster in this case. Wu Yu was stunned, then he chuckled. That's not bad. That old man's strength is very high. His alchemy standard is similarly very strong. Even though I don't know what rank he is at now, I know he's much stronger than me. Hearing that, Ru Yue became a little curious. Didn't you say the strongest alchemist here is a mundane stage low rank? Wu Yu rolled his eyes at her. I had indeed said that, but the problem is that the old man isn't from here, he came from the central region. He represents the medicine sect and created a branch sect here, so he's a person of the central region. His title as Senior Dan also originated from the central region. Senior isn't just a rank. That is, we call ourselves grandmasters here, but in that place, they are simply called seniors. It's the respect for experts. Have I clarified it now? Central region? Master, do you know the central region very well? Ru Yue blinked her eyes as she asked that. He. Master hasn't been to the central region, but we, alchemists of high rank, do have a general understanding with our current status. For example, we know of those renowned people known as Zi Huang and Senior Yu in the central region. Ru Yue's heart suddenly skipped a beat. She didn't know how many times she had heard those two names from Nangong Zi phone. Master, can you tell me more about Zi Huang and Senior Yu? I'm actually not too clear on that. Senior Yu is just a title, same as Zi Huang. Even though he's known as Zi Huangwan, he isn't an emperor. It seems that it's due to his name being Zi Huang that he had such a title. I don't know Senior Yu's real name, though. The two were a legendary couple in the central region. They both possessed tyrannical talent and superior strength. They were also devoted to each other. No matter how many women in the central region envied the woman and fancied the man, he only had her. More importantly, Senior Yu is the sole alchemist in the central region that had almost reached the divine stage. It's a pity that the couple had fallen 1,000 years ago. Teaser. What nonsense are you saying? Yi Chou clenched his fists tightly. His body shivered from anger. I admit your talent is outstanding, but don't think you are omnipotent. There are several alchemists here better than you. If even they couldn't do it, then how can you? Mickey is omnipotent so she can lend her powers to MRY, but Mickey believes in MRY to give you a resounding face slap, so have fun go MRY face slap him senseless. Ru Yue didn't bother to look at Yi Chou. She just shifted her gaze to Senior Dan. Senior Dan stayed silent for a while before gently nodding. I believe in the little girl. Mickey, yay Senior Dan, use a metal fan to slap his face. 1. The second word in Chinese character, Huan, can represent the emperor's title. If you find any errors, ads pop-up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report chapter so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 242, Unpredictable Future Part 1. Chapter 242, Unpredictable Future Part 1. Ru Yue frowned. They both fell? What on earth happened 1,000 years ago? She couldn't forget how Nangong Zifeng had called her and Yi Wuchen Senior Yu and Zi Huang respectively. How was that couple related to us? Master, do you have specific knowledge about the circumstances of those two? Wu Yu looked curiously at Ru Yue. This little girl seemed uninterested in most everything. When did she become interested in this? I don't know much, but I do know that Zi Huang seemed to be a person of the Zi family in the central region. I also heard that the Zi family was the largest power in the central region at that time, but Zi Huang and Senior Yu were assassinated while away from the Zi family. As for the rest, I don't know. Only that, from that day onward, Zi Huang and Senior Yu disappeared from the central region. Wu Yu sighed as that was really all he knew. Ru Yue pondered for a bit before nodding, not revealing any trace of her thoughts. I understand. Master, I will go and prepare some medicine for the young master, so I won't be accompanying you. Little girl, just do your best. Wu Yu smiled faintly. No matter what this disciple did, she didn't want him, her master, to worry for her. However, that instead made him feel rather gloomy. Ru Yue didn't speak any further and just casually found a person to lead her to Mu Rongqing Chu's living quarters. Moonlight entered the room illuminating the man's hair. He stood with both hands behind his back, facing the window. His gaze landed on the courtyard outside his room. Then, as though he felt the young girl's arrival, the man smiled faintly and turned around. His gentle and beautiful voice was like a spring wind to the listener, so pleasant to the ear that it could captivate people unknowingly. "You're here?" Ru Yue was stunned. For some reason, she had a feeling that this man already knew she would come. Could she be mistaken? "I'm rather certain about treating your illness, but I need to ask you a couple of questions first." The man lifted his hand slightly, with a shallow smile on his divinely handsome face. He was obviously cold, but with that smile, he exhibited an immortal-like sight. He was incredibly beautiful. This ethereal man had such beauty that it seemed surreal. "Have a seat." "No need. I'll head off once I've asked a few questions," said Ru Yue, shaking her head. "Your attribute is wind, and your body wasn't very good from the start, then you lost a huge amount of your life force 5 years ago. If I hadn't guessed wrongly, could it be that you made contact with a plant called red ant leaf? If you're referring to a grass that has a red leaf in the shape of an enormous ant, then I have indeed made contact with it 5 years ago." "Then, it's right." Ru Yue's eyes lit up and, with a faint smile, she explained, "That is a red ant leaf, a tremendously poisonous grass which will gradually deplete a human's life force. There is an Earth Stage peak rank pill known as the 9 Tripod Cauldrons pill that can detoxify that poison, but manufacturing it will require some time." Qing Chu smiled calmly, a trace of warmth gradually appeared on his cold face. "I'll have to trouble you then." Ru Yue lifted her gaze to look at Qing Chu, who had an unsurprised expression from the start. With a raise of her brows, she said, "You seem rather uncaring about whether this poison can be removed or not. Previously, you also didn't show any disappointment when you found out that there might not be a treatment. Even now, you still look just as relaxed." "It's not that I don't care, but that I know I won't die," Qing Chu said indifferently. He had already known his fate from the start. "If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report chapter so we can fix it as soon as possible." Chapter 243, Unpredictable Future Part 2. Chapter 243, Unpredictable Future Part 2. Ru Yue was a bit taken aback with this answer. Then, as though Qing Chu read her mind, he smiled slightly. "Do you know that there is a kind of power in this world that enables people to see the past and the future?" Ru Yue's heart jolted. She had read this in the Shao family archive. It had depictions of people blessed by the heavens with the ability to see the past and the future. However, the heavens were fair, as those blessed with such powers would never obtain happiness. How could those people obtain happiness when they already knew their past and future? They were destined to be alone for their entire lives and live on in solitude. "So, I had already known earlier on that I won't die, as your appearance will save my life." There wasn't anyone in the world that really wanted to die. Qing Chu was the same. It wasn't that he didn't care about his apparent death warrant, but that he already knew from the start that there would be such a result. Likewise, he knew that he would have countless encounters with this young girl in the future. A blessed person. Ru Yue smiled faintly. "I thought it was just something the world made up. I didn't expect such a person to really exist. The rumors of the world are fabricated according to facts. It isn't anything out of this world for such people to exist. I can predict the future, but I have to pay some price for knowing them every time. Even so, to repay you for saving my life, I will help predict a little of your future." Qing Chu's gaze was on Ru Yue. He knew this young girl definitely wasn't simple ever since the first time he'd seen her. "I shall give my thanks then." Ru Yue nodded slightly. "I'll give you your pill in 5 days' time." Looking at Ru Yue's leaving figure, Qing Chu gradually closed his eyes. The light of the setting sun shone directly down upon his body. The man's beauty looked surreal under the sunset. His sickly white appearance attracted tender feelings toward him. Suddenly, his expression changed and he spurted out a mouthful of blood from his throat. Can't be seen. It actually can't be seen. Her future was blank. There were actually people in this world he couldn't foresee. Mu Rongqingchu's complexion turned increasingly pale, a complex expression on his face. She was really something out of this world. Otherwise, he would be able to see through her. There was only one explanation for this: her future would have countless changes that even he wouldn't be able to predict. Perhaps she is the most unique person in this continent. Mu Rongqingchu chuckled faintly. He was very interested in this kind of person, one he couldn't see through. It was unknown what her future would be like. Moreover, it shouldn't be simple. Son. 5 days later. Mu Rongtian paced back and forth anxiously within the main branch of the medicine sect. His gaze often shot outside. Ru Yue made him collect some medicinal plants and gave the word that she would manufacture the pill after 5 days. Today was already the 5th day. He didn't know what progress the pill had reached. He became increasingly anxious as he thought about that. In comparison, Mu Rongqingchu, who sat at the side, was much more calm and collected. He had already predicted his own end long ago. He knew without error that Mu Yue would save his life today. White robes entered the room under the crowd's gaze. The young girl seemed extraordinary as her face stayed emotionless. It was as though she hadn't seen the people waiting for her. Niece Yue, how is it? Mu Rongtian walked hastily over to her and asked anxiously. Teaser. Mu Yue was slightly taken aback with this answer. It was as though Qing Chu read her mind as he smiled slightly. Do you know that there is a kind of power in this world that enables people to see the past and the future? See the past and the future. Mu Yue's heart jolted. She had read this in the Xiao family archive. Mickey, those that can see the future will hate that power, especially if you know that you will face an unavoidable terrible end. Mickey wants to glimpse into her future, but also scared it will be great if the future Mickey can metamorphose into a genuine goddess, but what if it isn't good? Haha, well, Mickey will take things along as her life continues XD. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report chapter so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 244, Unpredictable Future Part 3. Chapter 244, Unpredictable Future Part 3. Mu Yue smiled slightly and opened her palm. There was a green pill emitting an intense life force within it. She raised her head to look at Mu Rongtian. Let him consume this pill. It was still uncertain whether this pill could save his son's life. He was already at his wit's end. Mu Rongtian took the pill and walked briskly toward Mu Rongqingchu. Everyone's eyes followed his actions. They didn't know if such a young girl would really be able to use an Earth Stage peak rank pill to treat the young master's body. After all, even alchemists from the central region were clueless on how to treat him. Mu Rongqingchu smiled and looked calmly at Mu Rongtian's hand. He took the pill gently and placed it in his mouth. In an instant, a cool liquid flowed down his throat and into his stomach. Mu Rongtian was nervous as he looked unblinkingly for the changes on Mu Rongqingchu's body. Mu Rongqingchu slowly lifted his gaze. His originally pale face gradually became rosy. As though Mu Rongtian felt these changes himself, he became jubilant. Qingchu, your body. Mu Rongqingchu smiled faintly, as per usual. I can feel my life force slowly getting stronger. Even though the speed is rather slow, it's no longer diminishing. The man was still as calm and collected as before, even as his body finally became healthy again. There weren't even any changes on his divinely handsome face. That's great. That's great. Mu Rongtian's heart was so stirred that he teared up as he spoke those words repeatedly. Mu Yue's gaze was on this Mu Rong father and son. It was unknown why, but she had a feeling that the relation between these two wasn't only that of a father and son. There seemed to be some secret behind it. When those arrogant alchemists saw such a sight, they were shocked into speechlessness. Who would have thought that she really did have the ability to treat the young sect master? His condition seemed impossible to treat even to those alchemists from the central region. She'd really succeed. Yi Qiu's voice was quivering. He initially wanted to escape this place but decided to stay and watch Mu Ruyu's expression when she failed. Instead, it was he that made a joke of himself in the end. Why was that old man Wu Yu able to gain such a genius disciple? Yi Qiu's jealousy overwhelmed his anger. He had bickered with that old man for most of his life. In the end, he was left with such a sorry state because of the latter's sole disciple. He became sorrowful as he pondered over this. He didn't know how these people would deal with him. If he knew this was going to happen, he should have taken the chance to sneak out of the medicine sect. Mu Ruyu indeed didn't plan to let Yi Qiu off the hook. She hadn't dealt with him because she'd been working on the manufacturing of the pill for the last couple of days. Therefore, in order to prevent him from taking the chance to sneak away, she had already made Ji Wuchen watch that old man's every move. If that old man just created trouble as usual, she could ignore him. However, that didn't mean she could forget. If it wasn't for him, how would Wu Chen be pushed to the point where he'd almost crippled his own powers? She definitely wouldn't let such an incident occur again. Lady Mu. Mu Rongqing Chu saw that Mu Ruyu had turned around to leave, so he stood up slowly to follow her. Once both of them stepped out of the room, he called out in order to halt her steps. Mu Ruyu stopped as she asked without looking back, "What's the matter?" "I've promised you 5 days ago that I would take a glimpse at your future." Mu Rongqing Chu's lips curved up into a smile. His handsome face was so outstanding under the sunlight. But what I saw was completely blank. Teaser. Mu Ruyu smiled slightly and opened her palm. There was a green pill emitting an intense life force within her palm. She raised her head to look at Mu Rongtian. Let him consume this pill. Even though it was still uncertain whether this pill could save Mu Rongqing Chu's life, he was already at his wit's end. Mu Rongtian took the pill and walked briskly toward Mu Rongcheng Chu. Mickey sniggered. It seems my impersonation of Mu Ruyu isn't bad. But it didn't work with Yi Wu Chen. No fair. Oh well, if Yi Wu Chen can't see through my disguise, he isn't worthy of my main female anyways. Mu Rongtian, you look down on my main female, I will make your son pay the price. Muahahahaha. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report chapter so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 245, Unpredictable Future Part 4. Chapter 245, Unpredictable Future Part 4. Blank? Mu Ruyu raised her brows as she turned to look at the man behind her. That's right. Mu Rongqing Chu nodded slightly and calmly as a breeze said, I wanted to tell you that your future isn't fixed like others, so what your final outcome will be depends on your own efforts. You're extraordinary. I can't tell you what your future will be like, whether it will be happy or sad, everything is up to you. Mu Ruyu looked downward slightly, and then, after a long moment, displayed a smile to Mu Rongqing Chu. Actually, I have never believed in destiny. My life is in my hands. No matter what you could have seen in my future, I definitely wouldn't have followed that path. The final goal I've set for myself is to reach the pinnacle of the world by his side. If, as we reach for that goal, the heavens try to stop us, then I will go against it and create a bloody path. Mu Rongqing Chu's heart palpitated. My life is in my hands? This is the first time in his life he heard someone say that. You really are a special person. No wonder I'm unable to foresee your future. Mu Rongqing Chu smiled faintly. I'm really envious of that man for having someone willing to go against the heavens for him. But, his own fate was already set. If only he could be like her, ignoring everything but her goal. As though Mu Ruyu understood the man's thoughts, she focused her gaze on him and said each word clearly, Mu Rongqing Chu, so what if you're a blessed person? Just do whatever you want. Your life shouldn't be controlled by the heavens, you should be the one in control. Why don't you try putting down your responsibilities? Who decided that all blessed people must abandon their personal happiness? If you have the will, you will get what you want. Ru Yue didn't stay after she said that. She turned around and started to move away from Mu Rongqing Chu's line of sight. He needed to think about everything else on his own. She could only tell him that much. As for Mu Rongqing Chu's final outcome, it didn't have anything to do with her. Mu Rongqing Chu focused on the young girl's leaving figure. A slight ripple could be seen in his usually calm and collected gaze. After hearing the girl's words, layer upon layer of waves seemed to be surging in his heart. Would he be able to defy the heavens and obtain the life he wanted? Perhaps he should give it a try. A light smile graced Mu Rongqing Chu's lips. There was a change in the way he looked at Ru Yue. Son. Damn it. That little girl really treated the young master's illness. What to do? What should I do now? Yi Qiu paced back and forth in his room but nothing came up. When he saw the white-clothed young girl enter the room with Ru Yue, he was so apprehensive that his body shuddered. Why are you here? It was undeniable that the older a person was, the more they coveted life and feared death. Yi Qiu similarly feared death. Right now, he just wanted to safely leave this place. Why am I here? Ru Yue chuckled, but her smile was frosty. You've hurt my fiancé. Do you think I'll let you off? Yi Qiu, you shouldn't have hurt him to that extent. So I have a pill here, and I want you to swallow it yourself. Upon saying that, she opened her palm. A pill with a blood-like color was within, giving off a terrifying light. Fear showed in Yi Qiu's eyes. What pill is that? Ru Yue smiled slightly. It's a pill that will make your energy and mental power disappear. Moreover, it will prevent from having any ill intent toward anyone in this life ever again. Otherwise, you will live a life worse than death. Mickey, everyone should eat a pill that contains the second effect when they are born. The pill also mustn't be detrimental to health, just pain? If not, people will be going to complain about human rights XD. Teaser. Blank? Ru Yue raised her brows as she turned to look at the man behind her. That's right. Mu Rongqing Chu nodded slightly and said calmly as a breeze, I wanted to tell you that your future isn't fixed like others, so what your final outcome will be depends on your own efforts. You are extraordinary. I can't tell you what your future will be like, whether it will be happy or sad. Everything is up to you. Ru Yue looked downward slightly before displaying a smile to Mu Rongqing Chu after a long moment. Actually, I have never believed in destiny. My life is in my hands. No matter what you could have seen in my future, I definitely wouldn't have followed that path. The final goal I've set for myself is to reach the pinnacle of the world by his side. If, as we reach for that goal, the heavens try to stop us, then I will go against it and create a bloody path. Mickey bonsaied. Mickey totally agree. Hee Ching Chu, it is certain that you won't be able to see her future as Mickey covered it up XD TSK. Don't be such a spoiler. The readers will come after you. You are lucky that Mickey blocked your view in time. Otherwise, it will be such a pain for you to want to tell, but scared to reveal it to the wolves that are eyeing on this novel. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report chapter so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 246, Unpredictable Future Part 5. Chapter 246, Unpredictable Future Part 5. Scrapping a person's power would make him suffer more than just killing him. If he hadn't nearly caused Yi Wuchen to cripple his own power, then Ru Yue wouldn't have been this ruthless. I won't consume it. Yi Qiu blared viciously at Ru Yue. He had gotten used to others looking at him with respect. It would be unimaginable for him to live his life as a trash. You really don't want to? Ru Yue sniggered coldly. I remember that your disciple's talent is not bad and you dote on him completely. Yi Qiu was shocked, and he paled. His disciple hadn't helped him when he was in trouble and even now chose to hide at the side. However, Fu Lin wasn't just his disciple, he was also his illegitimate son, his only son. This girl, using Fu Lin to threaten him. You are such a demonic girl. Aren't you scared of retribution? Yi Qiu shrieked crazily, his body was shaking slightly. Retribution? Ru Yue looked at Yi Qiu. With coldness in her eyes, she continued, Yi Qiu, if you provoked me alone, then perhaps I wouldn't have resorted to doing this. However, Wu Chen suffered severe injuries and almost crippled his power because of you. If I were to receive retribution for avenging him, then I am willing to accept it. Since you are not willing to consume the pill by yourself, then. A layer of frost covered the young girl's face. Just as she wanted to continue, Yi Qiu interrupted her with resolution in his tone, I will consume it. He didn't have any other choice now. After accepting the pill, Yi Qiu closed his eyes and consumed it. The pill instantly liquefied after entering his mouth, making it impossible for him to spit it out. I've already consumed it, leave me now. In order to say just that one line, Yi Qiu gritted his teeth and used almost all of his strength. Ru Yue's brows were slightly raised as she said, you didn't wait for me to finish what I wanted to say. If you didn't want to consume it, I wouldn't have forced you and would have just taken your life away. But since you have made such a choice, you won't be able to die even if you want to now. Yi Qiu, you nearly caused my husband to cripple his power. I will let you have a taste of that. Yi Qiu didn't wish to cripple Yi Wu Chen's power, but he was the indirect reason why it almost happened. If it wasn't for Yi Wu Chen's power being beyond his, she would have probably seen only his corpse when she left the pill refining room. That man was the reverse scale one of her heart. Nobody was allowed to touch him. Master, let's go. Ru Yue shrugged her shoulders and no longer looked at Yi Qiu, who collapsed to the floor. From this moment on, he would no longer be in existence among the mundane stage alchemists and Xiantian experts. Wu Yu looked at Ru Yue and chuckled. This little fellow could be counted on to have great survival skills. Since this continent worked in a way where the strong was respected, if she had let Yi Qiu off, then with his viciousness, he definitely wouldn't have done the same. Thus, the best move was to cripple his power and suppress him. It would be much more painful for Yi Qiu to become a trash than to simply be killed off. Yi Qiu focused on Ru Yue's leaving figure. He clenched his fists tightly, a trace of hatred flashing in his heart. But when he looked with hatred at Ru Yue, an intense pain arose in his mind. That pain was literally worse than death. This girl was really vicious for making him unable to hate her when he desperately loathed her. The current Yi Qiu didn't think in the slightest that Ru Yue wouldn't have treated him in such a fashion if he hadn't sought trouble and fought with Yi Wu Chen, hurting him severely. He just reaped what he sowed. He shouldn't blame anyone for that. 1. A dragon has a reverse scale on their body that they will protect with their life. Even the nicest of dragons would go mad with anger when it's touched. Basically, to touch it is the worst thing you could possibly do. Argos. If you find any errors, ads pop-up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report chapter so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 247, Brother and Sister's Reunion and Heading Home Part 1. Chapter 247, Brother and Sister's Reunion and Heading Home Part 1. The large event held by the medicine sect quickly came to its conclusion. Nonetheless, those that came to the medicine sect didn't think it was a wasted trip. That was because upon departing from that place, they would be able to brag that they had seen a 17-year-old Earth Stage peak rank alchemist who had treated an illness that left several higher-ranked alchemists clueless. This was especially embarrassing for those alchemists that had disdained her for being a mere human stage mid-rank alchemist. They now badly wanted to dig a hole and hide in it. During this period of time, the Qin family's people wanted to visit Mu Yue, but were blocked outside by Yi Wuchen. He didn't like strangers disturbing their peaceful time together. In comparison to that, Mu Yue and Yi Wuchen commenced with their plans. Marriage. Hence, every alchemist in the medicine sect got an invitation to witness the wedding of Yi Wuchen and Mu Yue. This event would be held on the 15th of the following month. Mu Yue thought it would be a bit too much of a rush, but Yi Wuchen had already reached the limits of his patience. If it wasn't for the incident with the Saintist sect, they would have already wedded, and perhaps there would have already been a child in Mu Yue's womb by now. The delay had dragged on for nearly a year already. Yi Wuchen frowned slightly as he thought about the sect leader of the Saintist sect who escaped his clutches. Ghost Manor had been searching for the location of the Saintist sect, but it was to no avail. That man was a scourge. No matter what, he would eradicate him sooner or later. But after his own wedding with Mu Er, that man shouldn't have any more thoughts regarding her. After distributing the invitations, they rushed toward the Shao family in order to prepare for the wedding ceremony next month. Fortunately, they had already prepared most of the necessities for the ceremony, so they didn't need to use too much effort in getting their wedding ready. As Mu Yue and Yi Wuchen were passing by a forest near Shao family's residence, they saw a long, flax-colored robed man who lay unconscious on the grass. His face was pale due to massive blood loss. This man was very good-looking. His appearance was so handsome that it seemed carved, with sword-like brows. His long hair spread all over the ground, and his body was covered with blood. The countless blade wounds on his body made him look terribly horrifying. Despite that, his beauty wasn't affected in the slightest. His strong and healthy wide chest was exposed and gave off a charming glow under the sunlight. Mu Yue initially wanted to ignore the man and walk past him, when suddenly, her gaze fell on the jade pendant at the man's waist. The word Shao that was distinctly carved on the pendant caught her attention. Shao. It can't be that this man is from the Shao family, right? Mu Er, what's wrong? Yi Wuchen turned his head to look at Mu Yue, with a gentle smile on his charming and handsome face. Mu Yue narrowed her eyes and explained, "This man has the Shao family's jade pendant. He should be related to the Shao family. I want to save him, . Perhaps this jade pendant was something he just picked up or he could just have the same surname, but she would rather save thousands of the wrong people as long as there was a possibility that they were the right people. If he really was from the Shao family, she would definitely be remorseful her entire life if she were to ignore him." Mu Yue took out a pill and forced it into the man's mouth. The man obviously still had some lingering consciousness as he swallowed the pill. The moment the pill was consumed, the man gradually opened his eyes. What kind of eyes were those? They were so deep they seemed to draw people to him. They were like bottomless pits that would make it impossible for people to see any of the man's emotion. When the man's eyes landed on the young girl, a trace of wariness appeared in his black eyes as, word by word, he uttered, "Who are you?" Mu Yue didn't answer his question and instead asked calmly, "Are you a person from the Shao family? What is your name?" Teaser. The large event held by the medicine sect quickly came to its conclusion, but those that came to the medicine sect didn't think it was a wasted trip. Upon departing from that place, they would be able to brag that they had seen a 17-year-old Earth-stage peak-rank alchemist who had treated an illness that left several higher-ranked alchemists clueless. This was especially embarrassing for those alchemists that had disdained her for being a mere human-stage mid-rank alchemist. They now wanted to dig a hole and hide in it badly. In this period of time, the Qin family's people wanted to visit Mu Yue, but were blocked outside by Yi Wuchen. He didn't like strangers disturbing their peaceful time together. Mickey chuckled at such a sight. "Yi Wuchen, you are like a possessive guard dog. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report chapter so we can fix it as soon as possible." Chapter 248, Brother and Sisters Reunion and Heading Home Part 2. Chapter 248, Brother and Sisters Reunion and Heading Home Part 2. The man's voice was cold, void of any emotion. Xiao Feng. Xiao Feng? Mu Ruyu's heart palpitated as she looked the man's cold and handsome appearance. Your elder brother Xiao Feng? Elder brother? Xiao Feng looked curiously at the young girl and, with a slight knit of his brows, continued, Who are you? Mu Ruyu smiled then chuckled. Mu Ruyu, but it should be Xiao Ruyu now. The man was stunned. Even though he was out investigating the Nangong family, before he went missing, he had still received a letter from his parents that said they had found his long-lost little sister. That younger sister was Mu Ruyu. You are second sister? The man looked in shock at the young girl before him. Are you really my long-lost sister? That little bundle from that year had grown so much. You'll be able to verify it once we head home. Mu Ruyu looked at the man and continued, I've heard that you disappeared while investigating the Nangong family. What happened? How did your body become so filled with wounds? The light in Xiao Feng's eyes darkened slightly, as he chuckled bitterly. Previously, I was ambushed by the Nangong family, which resulted in me being unconscious from severe injuries. If it wasn't for a girl's help, I would have already been eaten by magical beasts. Moreover, the ambush had led to the sealing of my power, making me lose my combat strength. Despite that, the girl didn't disdain me for being a trash and took care of me meticulously. She isn't really beautiful, but is still pleasant looking. She isn't an aristocratic lady, but her kindness made me fall for her. But after hearing his words, Mu Ruyu got the gist of it. She didn't expect such a melodramatic matter to happen to Xiao Feng. He was first hurt and rescued, then fell in love with the girl who saved him. Wasn't that too melodramatic? Mu Ruyu raised her brows. What happened next? Following that, a trace of sorrow flashed past Xiao Feng's eyes as he continued, the parents of that girl looked down on me as a trash and forbade her from continuing to interact with me. They'd also arranged a fiancé for her. That girl initially fought against her parents' arrangement. But later, when I suggested she elope with me, she changed her mind, saying that I won't be able to protect her with my power. I initially wanted to bring her back to the Xiao family after recovering from my injuries. However, her fiancé didn't want to let me off, and she just stood there watching him torture me. Mu Ruyu raised her gaze to Xiao Feng and asked, What family clan is that? It is the Wu family of South Island. That girl was the eldest young mistress of the Wu family, Wu Qing Shui. Forget it, let's just treat it as I having bad sight. Since the girl left me due to my lack of power, she isn't worthy of my affections. It was a joke how he initially thought she was special and didn't mind being with him, regardless of his identity and talent. Currently, he was rather grateful that his power was sealed, else how would he have been able to see her true face? Mu Ruyu placed her fingers on Xiao Feng's wrist. A trace of light flashed past her eyes. Wu Chen, can you do me a favor? Yi Wu Chen smiled. His charming smile intensified his beauty. Don't just ask for a favor. You can even ask for 100. Your husband is willing to go through water and tread fire for his wife. It is really simple. You should be able to see the seal within elder brother's body. I will refine an Earth Stage peak rank pill, and you will assist me by helping him break the seal. Mu Ruyu's gaze darkened slightly. This seal had probably been created by Nangong Zifeng and had been controlling Xiao Feng from within. If she didn't break the seal as soon as possible, perhaps the outcome would be undesirable. It was precisely due to the seal that she had complete trust in Xiao Feng's identity. Teaser. The man's voice was cold, void of any emotion. Xiao Feng. Xiao Feng. Mu Ruyu's heart palpitated as she looked the man's cold and handsome appearance. Your elder brother Xiao Feng? Elder brother? Xiao Feng looked curiously at the young girl and, with a slight knit of his brows, continued, Who are you? Mickey helped. Mu Ruyu answered, Just someone that initially wanted to just abandon you here, but since you look interestingly handsome you shall be my brother. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report chapter so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 249, Brother and Sister's Reunion and Heading Home Part 3. Chapter 249, Brother and Sister's Reunion and Heading Home Part 3. Xiao Feng's heart jolted, a trace of astonishment gracing his cold face. Did he hear it right? His sister said she was going to manufacture an Earth Stage Peak rank pill? An Earth Stage Peak rank alchemist already held a highly prestigious status in the world, excluding the central region. Could she be an Earth Stage Peak rank alchemist? Ru Yue didn't bother with Xiao Feng's thoughts as she glanced at him. Father and mother were really worried when you disappeared. You should head back to the Xiao family to reunite with them first. Upon hearing that, a trace of guilt rose in Xiao Feng's heart. He had been recuperating in South Island these past days and his wounds had recovered only recently. He initially wanted to make a full recovery before taking that woman back to the Xiao family to meet his parents. Who could have known this would happen? Second sister, let's head home. It's also been some time since I've been home. Excitement shone on Xiao Feng's handsome face as he thought about reuniting with his family. He didn't know how much that little girl Changqing had grown and if someone had dealt with the Nangong family's matter. Son. In the Xiao family of Xiao City. Leaves littered the courtyard. Madame Shangyu was standing under the maple tree as she looked afar, sighing for the nth time. Yue Er, are you thinking about Yue Er and Feng Er? Xiao Tianyu embraced her from behind. With a gentle smile, he continued, don't worry. They'll be fine. Madame Shangyu sighed. That girl is so mischievous to actually run to the Nangong family by herself. I shouldn't worry for that? If something were to happen to her too, what should I do? Madame Shangyu's voice was choked with emotions as she said that. When she remembered the report from Yan Jin, she was a little frightened. If something were to happen to her daughter, even she didn't know what she would do. Yue Er didn't want you to worry, so she reported it to you only after she had accomplished her objective. Just stop worrying, alright? She should have already met up with Senior Dan. She might even be on her way home already. Who knows? She might even bring Feng Er back with her. Madame Shangyu sighed. It will be great if that really happens. Those two were her daughter and son. She couldn't help but worry. Just as she was thinking about Ru Yue and Xiao Feng, a joyful voice came from the front yard. Young head, young madam, great news. The second young mistress has returned with the eldest young master. Madame Shangyu's body shook. It seemed as though she couldn't believe her ears as she asked again, what did you say? The man was panting, but he still reported hastily, young madam, your subordinate has reported that the second young mistress and the eldest young master has returned and are heading here now. Now that Madame Shangyu heard what the person said clearly, happiness appeared on her elegant and exceptional face. This was certainly the greatest news she had heard in this period of time. Suddenly, footsteps sounded from behind. Madame Shangyu turned around stiffly. When she saw the two familiar faces, she was so stirred up that her tears flowed down uncontrollably. Mother, we have returned. Xiao Feng walked before Madame Shangyu and lowered his head to say that gently. Madame Shangyu extended her shaky hands, one to caress Xiao Feng's face and the other to pull Ru Yue into her embrace. Her heart could only really calm down after feeling the heat of their bodies. Feng Er, Yue Er, you two have finally returned. Do you know how fearful your mother was? Please don't do such risky activities in the future. You can leave all the dangerous matters to your parents. Ru Yue leaned into Madame Shangyu's embrace and smiled as she felt this familiar warmth. That's right, Mother, how's the Nangong family? If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report chapter so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 250, Brother and Sister's Reunion and Heading Home Part 4. Chapter 250, Brother and sister's reunion and heading home part 4. Nangong family? Madame Sheng Yu snorted. The Nangong family was seeking death, so how could we let them off with their old and new debts? Therefore, the Nangong family has already been annihilated by our Shao family. This time, those old fellows didn't say anything. After saying that, she lifted her gaze to Yi Wuchen, who stood by the side. She smiled in satisfaction. You are Ghost King Yi Wuchen? The fiancé of my precious daughter? Yi Wuchen smiled charmingly as he bowed respectfully toward Madame Shang Yu and Xiao Tianyu. Your small son-in-law pays his respect to father-in-law and mother-in-law. Madame Shang Yu chuckled from hearing mother-in-law. On the other hand, Xiao Tianyu was slightly displeased as he had only just found his daughter, yet she was now stolen by a stinky brat. He initially wanted to let her stay by his side for a couple more years. Little brat, even though Yue hasn't been living by our side, she is still our Shao family's treasure. If you want to marry her, you have to promise me a couple of things. Number 1, you are forbidden from taking in other wives and shall not have any unusual interactions with other girls. Number 2, don't let my daughter's tears fall in sadness. If you dare to let a drop of tear fall or dare to betray her, then I will sever any future interactions between you and her forever. It is useless even if you regret it at that point. Number 3, you must protect Yuer's life. You can't let her be in any danger that may lead to her losing her life. Actually, when Xiao Tianyu said the last line, he was already being lenient. He understood Ru Yue's personality. She didn't need a man's protection. It would make her growth stagnate if she just stayed under the wings of her man. She didn't need that, so he just demanded for Ru Yue to not be in any danger that was fatally risky. Getting hurt when battling happened often and was common. But Xiao Tianyu wanted her to live in the Shao family in this life while under his protection so that no harm would fall on her. However, he also understood that he would never be able to restrict his daughter. Her heart lay with the central region and not with Shang domain. Father-in-law, don't worry. If I ever do something to let Mu Er down in the slightest, I am willing to sever my legacy and be unable to have sexual intercourse from then on. My person, my heart, will belong only to Mu Er. If I were to look at other girls, except for her, I'm more than willing to blind myself. Of course, our future daughter will also be an exemption. Yi Wuchen's smile slowly vanished from his face. Resolution and determination filled his purple eyes. She is someone I will protect with my life. She will live, even if it will lead to my death. I also won't do anything that will upset her. Father-in-law, please entrust her to me without any worries. I will dote on and protect her with everything I have. Xiao Tianyu sighed. Although he was reluctant for his daughter to marry, he wasn't willing to end such a good marriage bond. His heart was still reluctant once he thought that his daughter would seldom be home after her marriage. Father. Mu Yue looked at Yi Wuchen and giggled. I forgot to tell you something. Wuchen will become a live-in son-in-law. Our marriage will be held in the Shao family, and similarly, we will just be returning to the Shao family from now on. Xiao Tianyu was elated. This was undeniably the greatest news. Perhaps what Mu Yue said calmed him. So, the more he saw his son-in-law, the more satisfied he became. He couldn't wait to have their wedding organized. Everything would work out if they stayed in the Shao family. When Yi Wuchen saw Xiao Tianyu turn his face faster than turning a page, a faint smile appeared on his divine visage. If he could satisfy his father-in-law, then even if he was a live-in son-in-law, it wouldn't be bad. Teaser. Nangong family? Madame Sheng Yu snorted. The Nangong family was seeking death, so how could we let them off with their old and new debts? Therefore, the Nangong family has already been annihilated by our Shao family. This time, those old fellows didn't say anything. After saying that, she lifted her gaze to Yi Wuchen, who stood by the side. She smiled in satisfaction. You are Ghost King Yi Wuchen? The fiancé of my precious daughter? Yi Wuchen smiled charmingly as he bowed respectfully toward Madame Shangyu and Xiao Tianyu. Your small son-in-law pays his respect to father-in-law and mother-in-law. Xiao Tianyu's temple vein bulged while he smiled at Yi Wuchen when he heard father-in-law. Son-in-law? Fuck that. My daughter is mine. I hadn't even interact with her and now you steal her away from me? What should I do? Shall I knife, poison, or fry him? Mickey chuckled and transmitted her voice to him. Hey, I can hear your thoughts. If you destroy my Mu Yue x Yi Wuchen ship, I will kill your wife in return. No one messes with my main characters. Well, this is just a kind advice. If you don't take it, you shall reap what you sowed. Furthermore, don't talk about fairness. In Mickey's world, everything is fair for those relationships that she likes. Kukuku, it's really up to you now. Your blessings to my lovely couple or losing your wife. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report chapter so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 251, Brother and Sisters Reunion and Heading Home Part 5. Chapter 251, Brother and Sisters Reunion and Heading Home Part 5. That's right. Mu Yue seemed to think about something. A spark flashed in her eyes, then she continued, remember to give an invitation to the Wu family of South Island when distributing them. Xiao Feng looked curiously at her as he had an idea regarding her goal. Madame Shangyu didn't understand her and frowned. Puzzled, she asked, Yue, the Wu family of South Island doesn't have the qualification to participate in the marriage ceremony of the Xiao family's young mistress. Can it be that Yue had gone to South Island recently? She doesn't have any connection with me, but she does with elder brother. Mu Yue shrugged her shoulders as Madame Shangyu gazed at her. With a crafty smile on her beautiful face, she continued, the Wu family has taken such good care of elder brother when he was hurt. We should naturally send them an invitation as a sign of our gratitude. Madame Shangyu obviously didn't know what happened with Xiao Feng and the Wu family, so she nodded slightly. Alright, since they are Xiao Feng's benefactors, we should send them an invitation. Feng Er, when that time comes, you should accompany me in thanking them. Xiao Feng nodded slightly. Wu Qingshui had already been eliminated from his heart the moment she did nothing but watch as he was being tortured by those people. Since then until the future, he wouldn't want to have any relationship with her. His heart would, however, still ache slightly every time he thought of what had transpired that day. He would only focus on taking care of his two younger sisters now. Glimmers danced in Mu Yue's eyes. She was curious as to how the Wu family would react after knowing elder brother's true identity. Will that woman regret? Mu Er, what pill are you going to manufacture for elder brother? As Mu Yue entered the alchemy room, Yi Wuchen's gaze had been following her as he moved. Mu Yue rubbed her jaw and, with a faint smile, replied, refinement pill. It will be able to refine that seal. Wu Chen, perhaps elder brother can make use of Nangong Zifeng's seal to assist him in improving his powers drastically. It can be counted as getting a blessing from his misfortune. However, I will need your help. I won't be able to do it myself. This would probably be unimaginable for Nangong Zifeng. She had planned to control Xiao Feng's body in order to hinder Mu Yue, but who could have thought it would instead become a part of his power? Even though Nangong Zifeng's cultivation level was really high, her understanding of alchemy wasn't as high. She knew Mu Yue could manufacture the refinement pill, but how could she resolve a seal created by a mid-rank Xiantian with her current cultivation? She would instead perhaps be able to do several things via Xiaofeng during the period of time Mu Yue increased her power to the Xiantian mid-rank cultivation. She was, however, clueless to the fact that if Mu Yue had a stronger Xiantian expert at her side, she would be able to borrow his power to refine the seal. She had once again lost in this exchange due to her lack of understanding on Alchemy 1. Yi Wuchen lowered his gaze and chuckled. The devil's snare pattern on his face enhanced his charm. He was so good-looking that others would be captivated even if they fully understood that this man was dangerous. My beloved girl is always so outstanding. Mu Er, once you manufacture the refinement pill, I will support you with my strength. Ru Yue nodded. Wu Chen, go first and let elder brother wait for me outside. I coincidentally have the ingredients needed to make the refinement pill here. Once I succeed, I will head out to find you guys. Wu Chen seemed to have gotten used to Ru Yue ordering him as he wordlessly and tenderly looked as the young girl took out the phoenix furnace before leaving. He helped her shut the room door on his way out. The instant the door shut, Ru Yue took out all of the ingredients required to manufacture the refinement pill and spread them out before her. 1. Instead of MRY needing to use her own strength, which is weak, NZF didn't know MRY could just rely on a third party to break the seal, Argos. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc. Please let us know. Report chapter so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 252, Grand Wedding with Congratulations from All Directions Part 1. Chapter 252, Grand Wedding with Congratulations from All Directions Part 1. It wasn't only Xiao Tianyu and Madame Shangyu in the main hall, Old Man Xiao had also come. Everyone was waiting for Ru Yue. After a while, a magnificent figure entered their sight. The young girl walked over slowly, her gaze landing on Xiao Feng. I have already manufactured the refinement pill. Elder brother, consume this pill first. Wu Chen will assist you in breaking the seal afterward. Everyone's heart clenched as their gazes fell upon the pill in the young girl's hand. Xiao Feng nodded before he took the pill and consumed it without a second thought. Pang! He could feel a power rampaging throughout his body. His complexion paled within moments. TCHW. He spat out a mouthful of blood. Phone air. Madame Shangyu became nervous, so she gripped Xiao Tianyu's hand tightly. She could only trust in her son and daughter pair at this moment. Wu Chen. Ru Yue turned her head toward Wu Chen. After they looked in each other's eyes, Wu Chen nodded toward her. Hon. His palm landed on Xiao Feng's body. Traces of a dark power were inserted into the latter's body from his palm. When the strong power entered his body, it made Xiao Feng feel slightly better. However, his handsome and cool face was still pale. His sword-like brows were furrowed, expressing pain. Yet, no matter how painful it was, Xiao Feng didn't let out the slightest sound. Hon. 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 As the power in Xiao Feng's body fought against the seal, Xiao Tianyu's fists clenched tight. Madame Shangyu's heart throbbed with pain as she looked at Xiao Feng's pale face. She desperately wanted to take on what he was currently experiencing. Only Ru Yue remained stoic. As he was a man of the Xiao family, it was impossible that he couldn't withstand just this amount of pain. Moreover, this was a chance for Xiao Feng. Under the nervous gaze of the crowd, a tyrannical power leaked out from Xiao Feng's body. That power was constantly intensifying. He had directly broken through to the false Xiantian realm from the ninth stage Hotian realm. Furthermore, it had come to a stop only after reaching the peak of the false Xiantian realm. Ru Yue believed that he should be able to directly make use of this chance to break through to the next realm. But it had already reached the limit now. What happened? Old Man Xiao was stunned. Why did my grandson make a breakthrough so rapidly? Ru Yue sniggered slightly. Since the owner of the seal was so kind to place it, how can I not make use of it? I converted the seal's power to elder brother's power so that he can make a breakthrough. Nangong Zi Feng. Ru Yue lowered her gaze slightly. She would definitely settle all debts with that woman someday. Sun. In a mountain range not far from Shang Domain, Nangong Zi Feng abruptly opened her eyes. Her expression changed drastically. Wah! She spat a mouthful of blood. She wiped the blood away from the corner of her lips. With a terrible expression, she whined, "She was able to break my seal and also make use of its power to let that man break through." What made Nangong Zifeng's heart ache the most was that this occurred due to Yi Wuchen's help. Why does elder brother Wuchen love only that woman in both the previous and this current life? If I was able to meet elder brother Wuchen before her in this life, would elder brother Wuchen's eyes still only contain her then? The current Nangong Zifeng had forgotten that she had entered the Z family long before Mu Yue appeared, but Zihuang hadn't even spared her a gaze from the beginning to the end and instead fell in love with the old Mu Yue that had come later. Mu Yue, so what if you get stronger? You will definitely have people you care for. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report chapter so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 253, Grand Wedding with Congratulations from All Directions Part 2. Chapter 253, Grand Wedding with Congratulations from All Directions Part 2. What Mu Yue had cared about the most was that adorable little child, therefore, Nangong Zifeng had amputated all of his limbs in their previous life. That woman wouldn't have met her demise under heaven's calamity if she had not seen the pitiful state of her adorable son. It didn't matter even though she had lost her memories, she wouldn't be able to abandon that brat, with their bond as mother and son. Mu Yue, I've said he would be my man sooner or later. I won't let you two stay together unless you don't care about that brat's life. A trace of malevolence flashed in Nangong Zifeng's eyes as she smiled. That girl wasn't suited to be an expert, because she cared too much about the people around her. In her previous life, she had lost her life due to the Z family and her child. Now, she would meet the same end in this life. Son. The Xiao family naturally didn't know what was happening on Nangong Zifeng's side. At this moment, the Xiao family was preparing for Yi Wuchen and Mu Yue's wedding. Guests from all around the continent gathered in Xiao City as the wedding day neared. What position did the Xiao family hold in Shang Domain? Just getting an invitation from the Xiao family was an acknowledgement of the invited people's strength, so every power that received the invitation had the qualifications to be proud of themselves. For example, the Wu family of South Island. Some big families which disdained the Wu family in South Island had come hastily to pay them a visit and give them gifts after knowing about it. They were even willing to be the guards of the head of the Wu family in order to gain the right to enter the Xiao family of Shang Domain. Since every family clan could only bring 10 guards with them, the greedy Wu Xin organized an auction to sell the positions. Those originally arrogant noblemen fought with all their might to obtain a position to be his guard, to the point that heads broke and blood flowed. Seeing such a sight, Wu Xin became incredibly complacent. Even though he didn't know how he got into contact with the Xiao family, who in South Island would look down on him, they could only flatter and curry up to him now. Shui, the day for the marriage of the eldest young mistress of the Xiao family is nearing. We should head out now. Wu Xin chuckled complacently. His status had been increasing rapidly ever since he obtained a connection with the Xiao family. Who in South Island would dare to underestimate him? Wu Qingshui bit her lips slightly and lowered her head. At this moment, the image of Xiao Feng's handsome and cold appearance entered her mind. That man indeed looked really great. His appearance beat her fiancé's by several folds. Otherwise, she wouldn't have fallen in love. It was a pity he was a trash that couldn't cultivate. Her father wouldn't permit her to marry him, and she also wasn't willing to roam the streets without a stable home.